Most people are taught the American Revolution as a moral fairy tale. Story about liberty, Enlightenment ideals, and brave patriots standing up to tyranny. But that version of history skips over the most powerful force behind the rebellion: money. Because empires don't collapse over slogans, they collapse when the numbers stop working. If you strip away the speeches, the pamphlets, and the mythology, you find a quieter truth. The financial relationship between Britain and its colonies had become unsustainable. And when the math breaks, loyalty follows. America didn't rebel because it suddenly discovered freedom. It rebelled because the colonial economic system was choking itself to death. Welcome to American Life Guide, where money, power, and history collide. And nothing is ever as simple as it looks. To understand why the colonies broke away, you have to rewind decades before 1776. Britain had just emerged victorious from the 7 Years' War, a global conflict that left the empire technically triumphant but financially exhausted. The British treasury was drowning in debt. Interest payments were rising. Political pressure was mounting. London needed revenue, fast, and the colonies looked like the obvious solution. From Parliament's perspective, this wasn't oppression. It was bookkeeping. If the empire paid to defend the colonies, then the colonies should help pay for the empire. Taxes multiplied. Duties increased. Regulations tightened. But from the colonial perspective, something felt deeply wrong. They were being charged like partners, while treated like property. The economic system binding America to Britain was mercantilism, a structure designed to funnel colonial wealth back to the mother country. American merchants could sell only through British channels. Imports flowed in at British prices. Shipping benefited British companies. Even prosperity was exported across the Atlantic. The colonies weren't participants in the empire. They were revenue streams. And nothing made this clearer than Britain's control over money itself. The Currency Acts of 1751 and 1764 rarely appear in textbooks, but they were explosive. Britain effectively banned the colonies from printing their own paper currency. That decision crushed local economies overnight. Without currency, credit dried up. Debts ballooned. Farmers and merchants owed British creditors money they physically couldn't obtain. This wasn't just inconvenience, it was economic suffocation. A modern economist would call it deflation. The colonists simply called it survival. Imagine running an economy where you're forbidden to use the money it depends on. That was colonial America. And while ordinary people struggled, the elite felt pressure of a different kind. Many of the men we now call founders, Washington, Jefferson, and other large landowners, were deeply indebted to British merchants. Those debts were locked in British pounds. As currency restrictions tightened and export prices fell, their financial futures slipped out of reach. Independence didn't just promise liberty. It offered something else, a financial reset. This doesn't mean the founders didn't believe in freedom. It means freedom and liquidity aligned at the same moment. The rebellion didn't ignite because of one tax. It exploded because the entire economic system stopped functioning. But anger alone doesn't win wars. Wars require money. Weapons require money. Armies require money. The colonies had none. This is the part of the revolution most people never hear. The United States didn't win independence because it was rich or powerful. It won because foreign empires saw an opportunity and decided to invest. France moved first, quietly, unable to openly support a rebellion without triggering war. French officials created a fake trading company, Roderick Hortalez & Co. Its real purpose was covert financing. Behind it stood Pierre Beaumarchais, a playwright by fame, a geopolitical operator by necessity. Through his network, France shipped weapons, gunpowder, uniforms, and gold to the colonies disguised as commercial cargo. France wasn't supporting democracy. France was attacking Britain indirectly. Spain followed the same logic. Silver flowed through Havana. Funds were laundered through merchant families. The goal wasn't liberty. It was revenge and strategic advantage. Then came the Dutch. Amsterdam was Europe's financial heart. Dutch bankers viewed the American rebellion as a speculative asset. High risk, high reward. Extended credit, bought bonds. They didn't care about independence. They cared about returns. Inside the colonies, a small group of financiers kept the rebellion alive. Silas Deane brokered arms deals before independence was even declared. Robert Morris personally financed military operations when Congress couldn't pay its bills. Haym Seligman converted foreign loans into usable cash, extending credit that kept Washington's army from collapsing. These men didn't win battles. They made battles possible. As foreign money flowed in, the rebellion transformed from a desperate uprising into a viable geopolitical project. But money always comes with strings. Foreign loans reshaped the war and the nation that emerged from it. Congress printed paper currency that collapsed in value. Soldiers were paid in money that lost worth by the month. Speculators bought government debt for pennies, betting the new country would survive. When that gamble paid off, it created America's first financial elite. The revolution didn't just create a nation, it created creditors. Victory left the United States independent and deeply indebted. Foreign powers expected influence. Bankers demanded stability. Creditors wanted guarantees. This pressure shaped the new government itself. Hamilton's financial system didn't win because it was elegant. It won because lenders demanded it. Centralized taxation. National debt assumption. A strong federal government.
Oh, debt.
Debt didn't just shape policy, it shaped ideology. And the irony was impossible to ignore. The nation born from rebellion against taxation soon used military force to collect taxes during the Whiskey Rebellion to pay off the very debts that created it. America had escaped empire, but it had not escaped finance. Even neutrality was shaped by debt. When France later demanded military support, the U.S. refused. It couldn't afford another war. Its economy was too fragile, its creditors too powerful. Foreign powers funded a rebellion to weaken a rival. Without sending their own armies, that strategy never disappeared. It's used today across the globe. Different names, same logic. The United States, now a global power, was once the insurgency being financed from abroad. This isn't a moral judgment. It's a lesson nations don't rise on ideals alone. They rise when incentives shift. When money flows, when rivals exploit opportunity, America wasn't just imagined into existence. It was funded into existence. And if history teaches us anything, it's this. Ignore the money, and you'll never understand the power. If this gave you a new perspective, subscribe. History has answers, and here we follow the money.